Welcome, everybody. This is Dr. Elena Estanol from Luminescent Life and Intuitive Business Mastery. And we are here to talk about the 3 dangerous trends that are affecting even successful entrepreneurs, are keeping them overworking, under-earning, and burned out. So I am really delighted to have you all here, and I would love for you to use the chat on the side. I know that we have both Q&A, a Q&A box, and also the chat. I'm not going to be checking the Q&A, so just make sure that you're writing on the chat. I would love for you to introduce yourself and maybe tell me where you're from and where you're joining us from. And then for you to enter your questions, maybe your aha moments as you are learning some of the stuff and recognizing like, oh, I see myself here, that kind of thing. It's really, really great because it will help other people as you are kind of writing about your aha moments. And then, wow, I don't know what happened there. And then being able to, for me to see your questions, and I will answer them as we are going through. So just really, really delighted to have you here. If you want to, chat in and say, here's where I'm coming from, here's my name, and this is where I'm joining you from, that's great. And then just your aha moments and questions, and I will try to address them as we go along. So I am going to be sharing my screen with you. So give me just 1 second as I do that little transition. And you will still see me in that little window on the top, but I think that way you will be able to get to see my slides. So, and just FYI, those of you that have not ever done a webinar with me, I don't usually will do the whole webinar function, the whole PowerPoint thing, because I like to be able to see the chat and keep some of my notes to the side. And so you will just get to see it this way. So give me 1 second as well. I want to make sure that I am making sure that I have the chat open so that I can see you if you're actually posting any questions or commenting or that kind of thing. So, and it's kind of funny because we're going to be talking a little bit about a lot about focus and productivity and how our brains are working in some ways as we are dealing with some of these trends that are happening in our world. So first of all, I just want to thank you for being here and taking the time and effort to register and be here and show up. I think that 80% of success is actually in showing up. So you have already won. You are already showing more success than anybody else. There's always so many people that register for these trainings and not everybody gets to attend them. And so if you are here and you're taking the time, then good job. So, just want to thank you for being here. I also want to tell you that there's 2 really awesome reasons for you to stay until the end. First of all, I am going to give you a really special gift at the end that will help you create a multi-6-figure revenue in your business that I have outlined step by step, and it's part of what I have used in my business. And then secondly is that I am going to be sharing a never before shared, a one-of-a-kind invitation that can really revolutionize your life and your business. And so it's really an amazing thing, and you will want to stay and listen to it. And the other thing is that if you have happened to join our training today, just directly by registering to the webinar, you might want to go to this URL over here, tinyurl.com quantum-leap-results, because what that is, it's a free course that I am making available to all of you, basically, for you to be able to start getting just a little bit, just a tip, basically, and an introduction to many of the concepts that we're going to be covering today. But you will get a comprehensive guide with very, very actionable strategies for you to implement right away. It will give you access to nice mini challenge that we are holding, and then to the 7 training videos. So if you have not downloaded that, I strongly encourage you to do so. So one of the things, what are we going to cover today? So I want to talk to you about what are the 3 dangerous trends that I am seeing that are impacting purpose-based entrepreneurs and keeping us overworking, under-earning, and burnt out. I'm going to most importantly show you how they're affecting you and what you can do about them, and also discover what's impacting your ability to be more productive, more focused, and have higher profits in your business and better results in your life. And really understand how all of this is kind of creating havoc in your business and your life. And really, overall, what are the 6 most important things that are responsible for your results? So, and of course, I'm going to show you a revolutionary way to increase your focus, productivity, and overall results. So I am going to share with you as much as I can. I have really packed this live training with as much value as I can. And for those of you that feel like you want to go deeper, you want to know more, you really want to completely optimize and rewire your brain, then I will let you know how you can do so at the end. So before we get started, I really want you to be able to take the time to focus on being with me today. So turn off all of your distractions right now, like stop multitasking, the surfing, the net, cruising along while you're listening, and just commit to really fully listen, to watch, to learn all the way till the end. You might want to bring a notebook and a pen for you to take notes. I have somebody that takes notes through drawing and doodling, and I think that that's totally fine. And you can also, or you could be writing, typing notes in your computer if that's how you like to type notes. But you are probably going to want to be typing notes because you're going to want to be taking some of this information in. And would love for you to be able to stay engaged all the way through. If you're just joining us, again, I'm just going to remind you, just kind of pop into the chat and just say hi and, tell me where you're from, and then type your aha moments and then the questions as they're coming through. So the very first thing that I'd like for us to do is just to take a couple minutes and do some breathing, because you're probably running around doing all kinds of things, and now you've kind of landed here, and I want us to really fully land. So just go ahead and close your eyes, and we're just going to take a nice, deep, slow inhale and a nice, slow exhale. And we're going to do that one more time. Nice and slow inhale. Inhaling clean. And exhaling any tension, stress. Allow your stress to drain away from your shoulders, your back. And let's do one more. And really notice your feet planted on the ground, the support of the chair beneath you. And just notice how all of a sudden you just feel a little bit more calmer, a little bit more focused, more present, more engaged. Just kind of noticing that just by taking deep breaths, we can start totally changing how we're showing up. So one of the things that I have been obsessed with pretty much my whole life is with achievement and success. My path has been a path of success and achievement, and not because I've been successful all the time, but it's just that I've been obsessed with it. And there are 2 things that I truly believe about achieving success. Number one is that I already mentioned 80% of success is actually showing up. The second one is that information without implementation becomes clutter. And so that any kind of insight, any kind of information that we receive, if we don't actually take the time to implement, if we don't make a commitment and a decision to do something about it, then it just becomes clutter and it just becomes a bigger distraction in our life. And so I want to encourage you, as you are listening and learning, to really start committing and deciding what are the things that you want to be implementing in your life, so that regardless of what you do, that this time that we spend together, about 90 minutes, that will be incredibly valuable for you, for your life and your business. So you're in the right place if you're struggling with feeling overwhelmed, spinning your wheels, not getting any results, or maybe getting lackluster results, inconsistent results. When you're overworking, maybe under earning or not earning as much as you'd like to. If you feel that you have a lack of focus, or you're feeling distracted, burnt out, or perhaps just confused about what you need to do. You are also in the right place if you feel like you're working really hard and then your calendar is still sort of totally open, your wallet's not showing the results. And I want you to know that magic can happen and we can help you address it. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but it is possible. You're also in the right place if you are here because you want to help other people, that you are in the business of whatever business you are doing, because it's not just about making money, but it's also about really truly connecting and making a difference with other people. And if you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and if you also know that there is a next level for you, that you know that there is this well of unlimited potential within you, and you know that you are capable of doing amazing things, but you are not quite sure how to get there. You're feeling like, I know that I'm capable, I know that I have the potential, but don't know how to tap into it, I don't know how to unlock it, and I'm feeling frustrated that I'm not actually performing at a higher level. And of course, if you know that you want to be making a lot more money than you are making currently, and if you also want to have a lot more influence and a lot more impact in the work that you do. So I'm going to be sharing some of the step-by-step pieces, and I hope that it's going to be incredibly helpful for you and your business. I want you to understand really what's getting in the way of your ability to be more productive, more focused, and have higher profits in your business and better results in your life, and how to start getting off this merry-go-round so that you can have more clear solutions and be able to get into that state of ease and flow. So this is my intention for you. I want you to find the ease and the flow in your business and your life. I really want to help you upgrade your ability to take your business to the next level and help you unlock that key to unlimited focus, productivity, and abundance, and inspire you to see what is really truly possible for you. So I guess before we get too deep into stuff, I want to, say, why would you even listen to me? And so is it okay if I share a little bit about me? Yes, good. Thank you. So for many, many years, I felt like success belonged only to those who were willing to work harder than anybody else. And that's partly because my path has been somebody that I've had to work really, really hard at doing pretty much everything that I have done. And today, I feel like I'm so incredibly lucky to be doing the stuff that I do. I am a high performance psychologist and an intuitive business mentor. In some ways, I'm an alchemist of helping people transform from ordinary to extraordinary, both in their business and their life. And in some ways, we can't really transform our business, and we can't really fully take our vision and our mission outward until we totally transform ourselves internally. So one of the things that began to tick for me is that today I feel incredibly lucky to be alive and to be walking today. 5 years ago, I was rushing out the door. I had built this beautiful integrative wellness center, multi-six-figure business. Things were going really, really well, but I was incredibly busy. And I was distracted by the million things that I was trying to accomplish, running my business, lack of sleep, pressures to perform well for my clients. And I just was in a hurry, and I ran out and I slept on my entryway. And of course, having been a ballerina prior to becoming a peak performance psychologist, I had learned great habits of hard work, determination, focus. And this is how I became so obsessed with understanding high performance and mental toughness. And all of these skills really got me through the 17 years of higher education, teaching at the university, and eventually having the courage to leap and establish my own successful business. Yet that day, as I slept, I had a compound fracture and a complete dislocation that needed emergency surgery. And it was an event that pretty much turned my life around. And it made me realize how crazy my life had been, how disconnected I had become, not just from everything else that I was doing, but from myself. To the point that I asked the doctor, like, do you think that you can put me back together so that I can get back to work this afternoon? Which is completely ridiculous. And of course, he just looked at me like I was completely insane. And I was at that moment. I didn't really understand what was happening. And of course, as I was like caught in this franticness that we all were, I was just in a hurry to try to get back to normal. And I clearly didn't learn my lesson, which meant that then I developed a really complicated condition that required to have surgery on both my legs, which is what you're seeing here in this picture, and threatened to have one of my legs amputated. And I think that that's really when I realized time is really our most precious resource. I realized how lucky I have been in my life and how my life could have just been gone in an instant. And it forced me to really see how, in my attempt to leave my university job, I had created this really successful practice that had become another treadmill that had trapped me. And to make matters worse, I think during a mastermind session I was holding, one of my clients said to me, Elena, you create this amazing transformation in this room and no one knows about it. And I don't know if you have experienced sort of that pain of feeling like you're the best kept secret. But it really felt that way. And at the same time, I was feeling prompted to having to go and share more of my knowledge and wisdom and empower other healers and other professionals to be able to build thriving businesses without getting locked up in the way that I did. And so I realized that all of the things that I had been learning all through my 17 years of academic experience, the 16 years of my practice, working with hundreds of athletes, performers, speakers, CEOs, in optimizing performance, that I needed to be able to not only continue to apply them, but continue to upgrade in my life, continue to challenge myself, and then continue to teach to all other professionals. So of course, I then, dove really deeply and eventually became also an ADHD coach, and continued doing high performance psychology and all of these things. So all of this has led to developing a blueprint that has allowed me not just to heal myself, as now I am performing as an aerial dancer as well, and it's part of my story, partly because I spent 3 years completely disabled, to really being able to start understanding what are all of the pieces that we need to integrate, mind, body, spirit, to really fully become powerful leaders, powerful creators, and create the life and the business that we are here to create. So that's enough about me. I'm happy for you to, put in the chat any questions or comments. I'd love to hear from you, kind of what you're resonating with and what you're getting from this. So let's dive in, shall we? So I forgot that I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna actually be sharing the trends in reverse order. So I'm gonna start with the third dangerous trend, and I'm gonna go all the way to the first one at the end. Okay. So the third dangerous trend is what I call tactical health, and what that is and perhaps some of you might already like have a sense, and if you would like to, you can type in as well. Um, is what is that? Well, is what I see happening in art industry that is literally destroying so many businesses and overwhelming business owners and keeping even highly successful entrepreneurs in this crazy merry-go-round. So what that is that as our technology and is developing so quickly and our market is developing really, really fast, we are bombarded by all kinds of new information. We get a new guru every second almost, with a new tactic and a new technique that's going to change our business and allow us to make millions, right? And you must learn it right now. Now, of course, I'm just poking a little bit of fun, but the reality of it is that you may already have experienced some of this. Yes, some of you are experiencing some of this. So it's like, okay, well, I want to learn how to do this launch method. I want to learn how to do podcasts. I want to learn how to do webinars. I want to learn how to use the whatever, how to use Facebook for marketing. Do you see what I'm saying? So the idea is that there are all of these tactics that then we think, oh my gosh, I need to learn it right now, right this minute. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to succeed in business. And all of a sudden, we are in system overload. We're like, let's play with this, watch me do this, do that. And all of a sudden, we are completely overwhelmed and overloaded. And we are not functioning at our best. So, our brains, I think about them a little bit like highways, or bike paths, so to speak. And so you can imagine that every time that we are processing information, it's going through all of these different synaptic connections from one end to the other, right? And again, if I'm going too fast, please feel free to type in the chat. And in some ways, our brains are wired to work in the most optimal and efficient way. Somebody said we're lazy. Actually, we're not, but our bodies and our brains want to function in the most elegant and efficient way. So they're always going to go to the path of least resistance. So let's just say that you have developed a particular habit or a particular way of doing things, and it might be a really, really bad habit and a terrible way of doing things, but you've been doing it for years and years and years. So what happens when you try to establish a new habit? Well, trying to establish a new habit is like trying to ride a bike over overgrown grass. It's going to take hundreds, maybe thousands of times of you riding that bike, and it's going to take way longer for the grass to grow over an established bike path. And that explains why is it that it's so difficult for us to try to change a particular behavior, even when we really want to. So it's not really our fault. We just didn't really quite understand, and we didn't really have a map of how we can deal with some of these things. And obviously, the new enemy that we have is it's distraction, right? There's all of these external distractions, the devices, the people, the environment, the new gurus, social media, all of this stuff that is constantly vying for our attention. And then we also have the internal distractions that are our thoughts, our feelings, our images, and impulses. And a lot of times those are created by the external ones, but nevertheless, all of a sudden now our brain is completely bombarded by all kinds of different things. So the sad truth is that now research has confirmed that we have the attention span of a goldfish, which is about 8 seconds. So why does that matter? Well, It matters because when we get to the state of overwhelm and we get to this state of system overload, if you can imagine what happens, so I'm going to be using the analogy of your personal computer. Your personal computer has a particular RAM memory that allows it to run so many programs. So what happens when you all of a sudden are running multiple programs at a time, perhaps an antivirus in the background, and then you have lots of windows open at the same time? What happens? So your computer crashes, right? Like it completely shuts down. Well, it's kind of the same thing that happens to all of us. All of a sudden, we start slowing down. We become less efficient and less effective at what we're doing. And all of a sudden, we are not maximizing our potential. We're not showing up as our very best. So, one of the ways in which this tactical hell has shown up is I've had several clients who, when we start working together, tell me that they're spending hundreds of dollars on Infusionsoft. And when I explore with them what kind of business they have, what are their goals, what their list size is, it becomes very, very obvious and very apparent that Infusionsoft is not what they need. I don't have anything against Infusionsoft. I think it's a great system, but it's really a great system once you get to a certain level in your business. It is not particularly the best when you are just starting out, when your list is very small or you're not making much money. And so the first thing that I've said is like, stop that, like stop doing that. Let's find a system that's a little easier. Now, partly because Infusionsoft then became a money drain and a time drain to learn it. It derailed them from their true purpose of building the business, and it cost them thousands that they didn't really need. And they were chasing this shiny object that supposedly was going to be the holy grail. And of course, then they became frustrated. So sadly, this is what I'm seeing, and it's partly what's keeping so many people so confused, so burnt out, and not really getting the results that they want in their business. So I wanted to share this. I just thought it was funny because here's, kind of one of those examples like, hey, guardian angels, why are you letting so many cool people die lately? What's going on? All the guardian angels are on their phones. And they're like, what? Wait, what? Hold on. Let me send this text. So at this moment in time, money is not our most valuable resource or our most valuable currency. I believe that attention and focus is our most valuable currency. The gift of our presence, of our full presence, it's the most valuable thing that we can gift anybody, that we can gift one another. And being really fully present and embodied in the work that you do and how you show up for your clients, for your employees, for your tribe, it's huge. So what do we need to, what can we do? Okay, so first of all, we need to minimize the distractions that we have in our environment. We creating the best environment for you, it's going to allow you to perform better. Use timers. Use apps that block social media so that you are not constantly distracted by all of the pings and dings and stuff from people commenting on your Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Silence your phone. Set reminders. Really slow down and become intentional about what it is that you're going to be working on. Write things down. Use calendars and schedules and do one or two things at a time. And I said one or two because some people feel like it's really hard to stay focused on one thing. And sometimes having just two things to bounce from tends to be helpful. So in general, I would recommend do just one thing. But if you're somebody that has a hard time just doing the one thing, I would say just do one more thing, but don't do like 3 more things. And you will learn why as we go through this stuff. You might also ask yourself, in regards to all of the shiny objects that come up, like study with one mentor at a time. Take the time to really learn and understand that system or method, and then ask yourself, is this something that I need right now, or is this something that I will need later? Because if you get an answer that says, it's something that I will need later, you don't need to buy it, don't do it, not in that moment. Because in some ways, everything's going to be available all the time. And a lot of times we buy something because we think we're going to need it later. And then that becomes part of the distraction. And then being really able to really fully connect to your intuition so that you become a better tuned in to your inner GPS as to what are the right decisions that you need to do and what to. So which one of these strategies have you tried? And is there a new strategy that you can see that you may want to implement? So you can write that on the chat, or you can write that on your notes. I would really love to see. Now, what's the second? The second most dangerous trend that I'm seeing is poor energy management. And again, if you somehow got here before downloading my class or my guide to the Quantum Leap Your Results, you might want to really download it, as it goes a lot more in detail than what I'm going to cover here. And that URL, I think I have included here. It's tinyurl.com/quantum-leap-results. Now, why this is important and why is this is a trend that I'm seeing, because there is this high level of competition, right? Like our attention, again, we're saying we're being bombarded by many, many things. And so most business owners are feeling a really high degree of competition and feeling like they need to do all kinds of things to stay on the cutting edge, to stay competitive. And therefore, they begin sacrificing their own self-care. They begin sacrificing their own selves in favoring simply doing tactics. And I'm here to say that though tactics may be really, really helpful, they're probably one of the least helpful things in the grand scheme if none of these things, if you don't have these things taken care of. Okay, so partly it's also because I think purpose-based entrepreneurs are also committed to delivering great value. And this was one of the hardest things for me to learn. And I think that it was one of those things that I learned through my path of recovery, of actually being disabled for 3 entire years and recognizing how I had neglected my body and what were the things that I needed to do to really to regain my complete health. Because in some ways, I'm going to butcher this, but there's a quote by the Buddha that said something like, I don't understand why Westerners spend all their time and all their energy accruing money or making money, and then they spend all their money trying to regain their health in their later years. And I think that this is something that really hit me, because it's true. Without our health, we don't really have anything. So now this is not just about health, and you will see. I firmly believe, and now we have all of the research that confirms that we are energetic beings. So we are comprised of 4 main energy systems that work in tandem. And if we are not taking good care of each one of these energy systems, we actually won't see any result that we want in our life. So we're going to be cranky, we're going to be tired. Anyhow, so what these are is spiritual energy is what I call intensity. I have this belief, and I often say this, that motivation is a thing that we need when we're doing something that we don't want. Again, I'm going to say this, motivation is something that we need when we're doing something that we don't want. And even though there's a ton of other high performance gurus that are really high in motivation, I don't believe that it's motivation what we need. It's inspiration, because inspiration comes from the Greek inspirare, which means in spirit. And it means that when we are totally, fully aligned to our divine calling and mission, that we experience this energetic charge, this yes of being totally aligned and being plugged into source. A lot of times people define intensity as charisma. Charisma is one of those terms that is really difficult to define for many people. It's, people say it's that je ne sais quoi, and really what it is this intensity, is people truly being plugged into source and having that energetic intensity fueling everything that they do. And once you're inspired, you don't need motivation, because you have the inspiration to be doing whatever it takes for you to get to where you want to go. So the second part is what I call the emotional quality, and the emotional energy, which is the quality of our energy. And quality, it's really, once you learn how to manage your energetic quality, you can have people eating out of your hand. And why do I say this? Is because this is the ability for you to be able to manage your emotional energy, regardless of what is happening outside of you, regardless of how other people are responding or treating you, and that you basically get to determine how you want to feel. And once you conquer that, then everything else becomes so easy. Then the next part is mental energy, which is what I call focus, and we're going to be talking a whole bunch about that. But if we're not able to really fully focus our energy, then we're going to spend lots of time spinning in circles and not really going anywhere. And then lastly, but not least, is our physical energy, which is the quantity, how much energy we get to have. And this is one of the ones that overlays with health in terms of our health, sleep, and proper nutrition, and hydration, etc. And speaking of that, I'm going to take a couple sips. So what are the consequences that happen when we are not taking good care of our energetic body, when there's this poor energy management? Well, it impairs our working memory capacity. And again, your working memory capacity is sort of equal to the RAM of your own computer. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we move on. But it basically impairs your ability to make good decisions. Your tolerance for frustration decreases. So you become crankier, you're a lot more emotional, you slow down. All of a sudden, you are not quite as sharp as you could be. Your results are lackluster, or you're taking action that is not very consistent, and therefore you can give up or not be perseverant in the way that you need to be. You can also struggle finding words. You feel disorganized, maybe you have headaches, or you have inconsistent energy, and it totally lowers your vibration. Now we have this beautiful chart that we have now been gifted by the research that can totally tell us that the highest energy vibration exists in feeling love and peace and joy, right? And so that's kind of going back a little bit to the emotional energy. So if we want to live at the highest vibration, then we want to be able to be experiencing love and peace and joy on a consistent basis. And of course, this is important because it will influence your attraction to other people, and it will influence how you're showing up in the world, the kind of impact and influence that you will have. And then of course, it's going to decrease your performance when you are not at your tip top. So I had a client that and I'm just going to call her Cindy. That's not her name, but I'm going to call her Cindy, who was so type A and so gung-ho about her business and wanting to do everything exactly just so, that she didn't even want to get up from her computer to go to the bathroom. And so she was not drinking enough water because she didn't want to be interrupted and have to go to the bathroom. And despite of some of the stuff that we were working on, she was like, no, 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 but this is important, blah, blah, blah. And eventually she started having urinary tract infections. And then eventually she developed a really terrible gallstone that was so big that had to be removed surgically. And so then instead of her being able to take a few breaks, drinking water and going to the restroom, she ended up having to take 10 days off to be able to have the surgery and recover. So, a lot of times at the moment, we don't really see how doing these little things might actually help our overall results, but it's just simply how things begin to start stacking up that then all of a sudden we start recognizing the impact. And usually it's when it's too late. I feel like most of us don't are not willing to do the work. We're not willing to really take action until the pain becomes so big. I know that that was the case for me. I know that I had the sense that I needed to like not work so hard and do blah blah blah. But I was like, but I don't know. But right now this is important, or later, later, right? And then I feel like I have struggled through so many different life-changing experiences because I was so stubborn that I sort of needed to have like the not the 2x4, but like the 10x6 or 10x8 to really hit me over the head and be like, what are you doing? You know, pay attention, focus on what matters. So again, so one of some of the keys to rewiring your energy is better sleep, proper nutrition, physical activity that fuels you. Notice the natural times when you're more focused and then adjust your work to them. So if you know that you're better able to focus in the morning, then do your most important work then. If you know that, at 3 o'clock you have a crash, then don't try to push through that crash. Maybe take a nap or maybe go for a walk or something like that. Take time for you to spend in nature, to engage in creative activities, because those are the things that are going to help um, avoid burnout and keep our brain stimulated and keep it energized to continue to create and innovate. We often underappreciate the importance of engaging in creative activities. Delegate tasks that take too much time and energy to other people. Invest time in yourself, whether that is meditation, whether that is exercise. Really start with any one new strategy. And again, the little course that you're getting at Quantum Leap has all kinds of different strategies. Just take one and begin to implement it every single day until it becomes norm. Okay, so I'd love to hear and I'd love to see what are some of the ahas that you're getting, what are the things that you're wanting to implement. And you can, post or you can let me know, even if you email me after the fact, I would love to hear. So are you ready for the number one danger strand? So the first danger strand, or the number one danger strand that I'm seeing, is that we are operating with an outdated operating system. And you're probably going to be like, huh? What are you talking about? Well, I've been talking a lot about how we are completely bombarded by all kinds of distractions, all kinds of things that are vying for our attention. And we are getting into this place of system overload. More and more than ever, I am hearing people saying, I'm like completely confused, or I just crashed, or I just, totally like came to a full stop and I just didn't know what to do, and it's basically the equivalent of our computers crashing when we have too many windows, right? Like when your computer crashes, you can't just install another new program, right? You can't just get another new fancy app. When your system is running on low RAM memory, we need to create more space, not overloaded with more. And that's exactly what we're doing with this tactical health stuff, right? Like we're feeling confused and overwhelmed, and then we're like, oh, right, like I need this new program. I need to learn this new thing. I need to, and then all of a sudden we're like way more overloaded. So one of the things that I've learned through all of my study is that we basically we're struggling to focus on what really matters. And we are losing about 25 minutes for every distraction. I call it herding cats, because you might experience this yourself. When I get into the flow and I'm like totally in the flow and I get distracted, it like, whoosh, like it totally takes me out. So the experience of flow and peak performance is this blissful experience where time almost feels like it sits, like it stops, and all of a sudden things just feel easy and effortless and things are just flowing, and it's just such a blissful experience. It's part of the reason why I became addicted to it and so obsessed with it. And we're all capable of being able to work within that state. But if we're distracted and taken out of it, a lot of times it's going to take almost 20 to 25 minutes to get ourselves back into that same relaxed state of focus where things just begin to flow again. Okay, so what happens is that we upgrade our cars, we upgrade our washing machines, our computers, but we're continuing to move super quickly through a world that is evolving faster than anybody can keep up with the same brain. So the reality of it is that our brain needs to be upgraded. It needs to be rebooted in some way. So and you might be like, what? How do you do that? Like, and chill, I will explain. The system that regulates many of these cognitive processes, and they're actually in charge of us getting into that high performance and focus, is working memory. So when our working memory is like a computer gets full, again, uploading new programs, it's not going to make it work better. It's actually going to make it run slower. Okay. So working memory is our brain's RAM computer. It helps us to focus, to hold attention and concentration, and holds information for a short period of time that needs to be manipulated in our brain. It mediates a lot of the executive functions that we need to do every single day, like making decisions. It is, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what these executive functions are. And it is basically like the CEO of our brain. It mediates all of the higher level brain functions, and it all happens on the frontal lobe, which incidentally is one of the last regions of our brain to develop. So I'm going to kind of go through a few key definitions, and then I'll go back to what are some of the key functions of working memory so you can understand. So one of the key definitions is, I'm talking about focus. We talk about focus, attention, and concentration as the same concept, and they are slightly different but interrelated concepts. So focus is a narrowed attention on a particular stimulus, right? So, oh, great. I love this stat about 25 minutes to get back into the flow. Do you have specific resources or a combination of resources? Yeah, well, so I do, and it is actually on the course, the quantum-leap-results, tinyurl/quantum-leap-results. I've got a bunch of particular strategies and that kind of thing. But I could also think about, some of the other resources that I can send out. So attention is basically us being focused on the present moment, the task at hand, and then blocking internal and external distractions are irrelevant to the task. So right now, you actually just saw me do this, right? Like I saw the question come in, and I like switched my attention and answered one of the questions, and then I had to switch back immediately to going back. So this is one of the things that we often need to do in our day-to-day life, right? Is that it's not just staying focused on a particular thing, it's also being able to stay to the present moment, to the task at hand, which sometimes means switching our attention from one thing to another to the next. And when we're able to decrease the amount of time that it takes us to be able to switch from one thing to the next and get back into the flow, then all of a sudden we're optimizing our efficiency level, right? Then the next part is concentration, and that's our ability to focus on an appropriate cue given a situation. So again, this was a good example. If you were, for instance, playing basketball and you all of a sudden were dribbling the ball and you see that you were blocked, very, very quickly, you would have to scan the room and figure out who's going to be open for you to throw the ball at, to throw the ball and do the pass. And that person ideally is also concentrating enough and scanning the environment enough that is able to recognize that you're throwing the ball at them and they're going to be ready to catch it, right? So, and then attentional style is basically our preferred width of attention to a particular stimuli. And I'm not going to go too deep into this because it's really, really complex. I do go through a lot more depth and exercises and all kinds of things in our program that I will be sharing with you a little bit later, called Quantum Brain Reboot. But the idea is that we each have a particular style of attending, that it could be either really broad and external, or broad and internal, or narrow and external, and narrow and internal. And that ultimately we all need to be able to learn how to attend at each one of those quadrants, and then how to switch really quickly between them so that we can be most efficient. So why does it matter? So these are all of the things that are impacted by a decreased working memory capacity. So we are more disorganized, we tend to get distracted and have a struggle concentrating. A lot of times it shows up in lack of planning and follow through. Sometimes it's about misplacing things or forgetting tasks. You know, maybe your partner or wife or some our spouse said like, hey, can you like go to the store and make sure that you pick up milk? And then you go to the store and you pick up a whole bunch of stuff, and then you come home and you're like, I forgot the milk, right? So those types of things. And it also can be responsible for making decisions in an impulsive way, or reading and learning. Sometimes some things that people tell me is like, I will read something and then all of a sudden I get to the end of the page or the end of the paragraph and I don't even know what I read, and I have to go back and reread. And so if you think about every time that you're having to go back and reread, and every time that you're having to go and look through the stuff that you couldn't find, right? All of that is taking time, it's slowing you down, it's causing you to function in a very inefficient way. It also, it's responsible for us being more emotionally reactive or having trouble monitoring our emotions. Sometimes it shows up as procrastination or starting projects, or perhaps you're really great and excited when you start, and then you have a really hard time following through and finishing all of the way through. So in some ways, as you can see, working memory is in charge of doing so many things and so many tasks of the stuff that we have to do. And so if you think about, you know, any one of us is constantly managing, you know, email and social media and our families and our kids and our employees and our clients, like it's right. And then not to mention then all of the nice shiny objects about like do this and do that. It's no wonder that we end up feeling like dizzy and confused about what's the next step for us to do. Now, one of the great things, and this was one of the most exciting things for me to learn about, is that I don't know if this has been taught to you. I know it was taught to me that there's this idea that we were born with a certain number of brain cells, and that we basically keep the same number of brain cells, and then that's pretty much it. Like, whatever it is that you had, that's what you keep. And you actually need to be really careful, because if you drink too much, it can kill brain cells, blah, blah, blah. So that was sort of the old understanding. The new understanding is that what's responsible for us actually being able to function best, it's not just the number of neurons that we have, but most importantly, the synaptic connections that we are making. So the synaptic connections are basically kind of like the paths that I talked about through overgrown grass, right? These are actually the connections that are connecting information and are helping us understand and recognize things. So when I say, apples, oranges, and bananas, you know immediately that that belongs to a category of things that are called fruits. And that if all of a sudden I say green pepper, you recognize really almost intuitively that green pepper does not go in the fruit basket, it goes in the vegetable basket. And we're able to do that because we have through a repetition and learning, we are able to recognize that there are certain things that go with certain things. And the more knowledge that we have, the better associations that we create. So neuroplasticity is really our ability to reshape and improve our brain potential, our working memory, and synaptic connections, so that we're establishing new pathways. It is one of the single most powerful things that we can do to change our lives and our functioning. And in some ways, it's something that we didn't really have access to or knew how to do it. So here's this is something that I created. It's a process that I created just as a simplified version of like how to increase focus. The first one is, I call it the 4 P's of focus. The first one is to focus on what's positive. Most of my clients always hear me say, what you focus on is what grows. Unfortunately, we are biologically wired for our brains to remember the negative things, because we needed to like stay away from the saber-toothed tigers and the bears, and so our brain is a little bit like a Velcro for negative experiences and like Teflon for positive experiences. And it's also the reason why we tend to get stuck in loops, and we tend to like replay all of the negative stuff. However, because we are not really facing saber-toothed tigers or bears, that way of functioning, it's undermining our ability to really unleash our potential and really become like the amazing human beings that we can be, because we're constantly focusing on what's wrong. And so we need to start rewiring our brain to focus on what is positive, focusing on what we're doing well instead of what we aren't doing well. And then recognizing that what we're actually focusing on is what's going to grow. That simply changing the focus to looking at what's going well right now, what am I grateful for right now, can completely transform your life, because it'll activate that reticular activating system in your brain, that it's the thing that's going to start signaling what you need to start paying attention to. The second is to focus on the process. And the idea is that you want to be prepared from beginning to end, but be really focused on enjoying the journey and the process, rather than saying, so focused on the results. We are a very results-oriented society, and it almost makes it sound like without results, nothing is worth doing. And I think that has greatly limited our capacity to fully expand and explore and reach higher levels of potential, because there's lots of things that we may not get an initial result, but they're worth doing because of the process, because of what we're going to learn in the way. The third one is just being present, being here and now. And this is just part of being able to start really giving yourself and the people that you interact with the gift of your attention and presence. And then the fourth is focusing on progress. Again, focusing on the improvement, how we are improving each and every day rather than the deficits. And this is another thing. It shows up for many of my clients every time that we talk about setting intentions and goals, that a lot of times they don't even want to say it because they are already anticipating the shame of having to say that they didn't do something or they didn't quite accomplish something, rather than being able to say, yes, I'm going to do this, and then staying focused on the improvement and the progress, even if not everything got done. So other things that you can do to really begin to improve your neuroplasticity and rewire your brain and your attention. Commit to a daily meditation practice. If you are just new and you're just meeting me, people in my community know that I talk a lot about meditation and the importance of having a daily meditation practice. It was, for many, many years, it was sort of like one of the secret weapons that we used to teach Olympic athletes to get an edge over their opponents. And now it's so exciting to see that there's all of this research that validates the empirical evidence that we had of how it can completely transform your life and your performance. Now, I suggest that if you have never meditated, that you start with 5 minutes a day, and that then you start and you do that for maybe a week, and then you increase by 1 minute each week, up to 15 or 20. Do it slowly and take one thing at a time, because a lot of times people hear me talk about all this stuff and they're like, oh my gosh, this is all great, I'm going to do all these things. And while doing all of those things would be great, if you try to do everything all at once, you will probably have the same system overload. So I would say start with one until that becomes internalized, and then you add something else. Creating internal routines, creating internal boundaries. And this is, again, just being able to start the little class talks a lot about the importance of routines and setting structures to our lives that actually are going to set some of the efficiency and the patterns in our brain. I talk a little bit about it's like setting the train tracks, right? And each of these things are going to contribute to set the train tracks for the train to run smoothly. And every once in a while, the train's going to go off the tracks, and knowing that you now have the tracks to get the train back in place. I had somebody said before, well, sometimes I just feel like I have to start over, like nothing works. And that's when I call when the train goes off track and it takes the tracks with it. And I don't know if some of you may relate to that or not. I say it's okay, like recognizing that might happen sometimes, and then knowing what is the thing that is going to be most important to you in resetting the tracks back in place. So for instance, when we're talking about energy management, one of the things that it's really, really crucial for me, I have an experience, I struggled with a severe eating disorder for many, many years. And so my body is very, very sensitive to nutrition and eating at appropriate times. And so when things get off track, one of the very first things and most important things that I need to start with is making sure that I'm eating really, really highly nutritious foods, that I'm eating every 3 to 4 hours, that I'm hydrating appropriately, blah, blah. For some people, it ends up being sleep, and sleep becomes sort of the anchor for everything else. For some people, it becomes meditation. Do you see what I'm saying? So some of it's about beginning to play around with some of these strategies and then learning what it is that you need to do and implement in your life, and then what is the way that then you get back into place. And of course, I'm kind of just giving you the tip of the iceberg. All of these things we will go way, way deep into, and we will go through the strategies and the techniques. We'll go about how you apply them. And if you join my Quantum Brain Reboot program. So the other piece is about creating information dump sites. And what I mean by that is that because we're so overloaded by information, whether the information is coming externally or internally, and knowing where that distraction is coming from, it's important that you start creating a place that you can dump it into so that it's not running in the background, slowing you down. So for instance, every time that I am going to sit down to work on a project or whatever, I make sure that I have a little piece of paper next to me. And so this is kind of what I've been showing. So it's not fancy. Like you can see this is a mess, but this is one of my information dump sites that whenever I'm working on something and then I'm like, I need to do blah, I just write it down and then I just go back to it. And then I need to blah, 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 I write it down and then I need to go back. And so what it does is that it allows me to clear my brain of having to try to keep running it and try to remember that I need to do this, because I know that it's written down here and then I can go back to it once I finished the thing that I'm doing. I hope this makes sense. So, I wanted to include this because it was so great. It looked a little bit like a brain, and it really has all of the different techniques and strategies. And at the same time, it was a bit overwhelming. So it was just kind of funny. So ultimately, what is responsible for your results? And this is a little bit of a kind of a summary. What's responsible for your results? Well, it's the intensity of your energy, the quality of your energy, how you're managing your emotions, the quantity of your energy, how energized and present and totally like, how much energy you have to do the stuff that you need to do, your focus and working memory capacity, your ability to be able to filter all of this stuff, to be able to run more and more programs and process more information without crashing down. Systems, routines, and habits, which are so, so important. And without them, none of those things will work because we need to have a place for them. And then community, that when we are surrounded by people that are equally committed to doing good work, to improving, we tend to do that. And that when we are surrounded by people who are naysayers and they're discouraging us and that kind of thing, then we tend to kind of go back and do the same old. So I wanted to share a little bit about how does this impact your bottom line, right? Because I kind of talked a little bit about like, how does this impact your bottom line and your profits? And so I kind of took some of the time that might be lost doing certain things. So let's just say that I don't know if you are one of those people that notice that you have like internet or media time warp, where you like go into Facebook and then you magically disappear 3 hours and then you're like, what happened? Well, I just said, let's just say that it was only 45 minutes after, all was said and done and what you were intending to do. That maybe between interruptions and distractions that you lost another 35 minutes. That perhaps in the difficulty making decisions, and this I'm including the, I don't know what I should do. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? And then maybe even going like around and asking, like, what do you think about this? And what do you think, right? About another 60 minutes. Procrastination, all of a sudden cleaning the kitchen and making cookies sound like a way better idea than starting on that project, or simply having ineffective focus. And what I mean by this is like, this when we're actually working or we're trying to work, but we're not really making progress, right? Like we're like, yeah, I'm doing this, but then I'm sort of looking at the email and then looking at this. It's not really going anywhere. Some of the delayed reactions that are happening, right? When all of a sudden we can't seem to respond because our brain's not functioning quite well, or the time that's lost to frustration when we can't find something or we are not getting the results that we have. So I have computed this. So if you lost all of this time in a week, now there's people that could lose all of this in a single day, but I'm just saying, so if it was in a whole week, that's 380 minutes a week. So that's 6.5 hours a week. If we compute that by month, that's 25.33 hours a month. Now, if this was time lost in a single day, then you'd be losing about 126.6 hours a month. And if we compute this to a year, that's 304 hours a year. And I computed it based on, let's just say that your average hourly rate is about 150, then you would have lost 45,599 a year from all of this wasted time. And of course, if this was happening daily, then the loss could get to 228,000 a year. Not to mention all of the loss of not really getting the results that you want because you are not functioning in an efficient, elegant, and productive way. So it has major, major impacts to our relationships, but also like to our bottom line and finances. So would you say that improving focus and working memory would have a great impact on your earning power? Absolutely. So I'd like for you to kind of take a moment and think about like, what are 3 takeaways that you want to implement right away? Because again, information without implementation is clutter. And I really would like for you to really implement what you are learning. So even if you just took like 3 things, say, okay, here's what I'm going to do, write them down because that's super important, and then decide how you're going to take it through. Now, all of the stuff that I've just shared with you works. You could totally take it, do this, it would make a huge difference. Now, there's a problem, and the problem is that it takes practice, it takes consistency, and it takes time. So, of course, I looked for alternatives because I know that the sad truth is that a few of you are going to go like, oh, this is great. I know exactly what I need to do, and you're going to go and do it, and it's going to be great. And some of you are going to feel like, wow, that was great information. And then you're going to be like, I don't know what to do. You're going to start procrastinating. It's going to dilute your focus, and then you're going to get off your game. And maybe maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to start meditating. And then you're going to have all of the things and distractions like kind of pouring around you. And then pretty soon you're going to be back to where you were. And of course, this is a very extreme picture, and I hope that that's not you and that will never be you. Of course, I didn't include any of the statistics of how many car accidents and deaths are caused by distracted driving, but they are off the charts. But most likely is that you're going to get back to life and to business, back to normal. Because the reality is that in the absence of support and mentorship, environment takes over no matter how much we want to change. Willpower is really a very limited resource and is quickly depleted in our demanding world where everybody's like wanting something and vying for our attention. And that if we're simply trying to add strategies on a very overloaded brain already, then no matter how amazing the strategies might be, the system's gonna crash because your RAM memory is already full. So soon enough, you're gonna get back to the overworking and not making enough and feeling burnt out. I wanted to share, I guess, the story of Bob, which is it's a sad story for me because Bob was somebody that came to see me, and we did a consultation, and it was very obvious that it was somebody that really needed my help and could really, really benefit from our programs. And he said, I'm not able to afford it. I can't afford it right now. And in that moment, I did not stand for him. It's the reality. I did not stand for him. I did not try to help him see how this was going to transform his life. And I just took his excuse and I let him go. And as he was leaving, I had this like pit in the bottom of my stomach. And I was like, oh my gosh, there goes somebody that I could really make a difference in his life. And I don't know that he's going to get what he needs. And, of course I had to resolve it on my own, and I never saw Bob again for a while. And then I ran into him about a year and a half later. I ran into him. And I recognized him, and I, said, hey, how's it going? And, and he said, well, I'm trying to recover. And I said, what happened? And he said, well, I couldn't really get a hold. I couldn't get a hold of myself. I couldn't get a hold of my business and all the stuff that I was going. Everything spiraled out of control, and I lost my business. and I went completely bankrupt, and that put so much stress on our relationship that my wife left me. And wow, it's it just makes me think back to just like how um, much has impacted me to hear that, because there's somebody that I really could have made a huge difference, and I didn't stand for, and basically lost everything because he didn't invest in taking care of himself and really um, expanding his working memory capacity and improving his functioning so that he could really do amazing things. So one of the things that I did is that I searched really all over the place, high and low. I researched everything. I understood that our brains are a little bit like muscles, and that the more that we exercise them is how we get to expand. And there was tons and tons of things out there that claimed to help. I tested many of them. Many of them were created by um, app developers and then tried to get scientists to try to validate this stuff. And I finally found a program that was actually designed by neuroscientists, that was tested by neuroscientists, that had a really tightly regulated protocol, and that was possible to replicate the results, and that had been retested outside. And in my opinion, it was the only thing that had the rigor to really have any kind of claims that I could seriously get behind and really believe. So why did I bother to do all of this research and to look at all of the techniques that I had learned and integrated through all of my experience? Well, um, I didn't want people to continue to struggle with the overwhelm, right? You don't want to continue to struggle with the overwhelm, the information overload, the frustration, the feeling demoralized every time that you're not getting the results. My clients were feeling that way. And of course, I knew that there had to be something that could completely help us flip that switch and upgrade our brain. So what I did is that I created a revolutionary new program with the combination of this other program. And I want you to think a little bit about like what would it take for you? Like what would it be possible for you? Like I want you to just kind of imagine, what would it be possible for you, for your life, for your business, if you could have these three issues completely resolved? Like if you would be able to really stay focused on what you want and need to do, if you could really work effectively, efficiently, and seamlessly, and not get pulled into all of this tactical hell, if you could really learn a system in a way to be able to tune into your inner GPS, to your guidance, to stop doubting yourself so that you know what are the right decisions to make at each step of the way, that for you to feel like really confident and really empowered to create and do just about anything that you want to do, and to be able to really effortlessly and easily bounce back from any challenges so that you can get back into action. I'm not saying that life won't happen. Life will continue to happen as it happens for all of us, but it will give you the ability to be able to bounce back and get back into the flow in such a quick way that it's almost like it never really happened. And of course, it will allow you to experience more financial and time freedom as you expand who you are, as you expand your potential and you really unlock every single one of those things. So, just for a moment, imagine how amazing your life could be when you are able to be working in the flow rather than against the current. So, okay, so you want to hear about our program that can solve all these things once and for all? It's a program that I've called Quantum Brain Reboot. It actually has two main goals, and it's going to work in two different ways. The first one of it is in charge of upgrading your operating system. It is a complete, it's not an information program, it is a training program that it's going to work at increasing your working memory capacity and increasing your neuroplasticity. So literally expanding your working memory capacity, the RAM memory of your computer, to be able to deal with more, to hold more things, to deal with all of the information in an easier way, to be able to stay more focused, to be able to make quicker decisions, to be able to manipulate information quickly. That's the first part of it. The second part of it is what I call like basically installing the new software. And this is the new software that's meant to help you basically unlock and unleash that unlimited potential for focus, productivity, achievement, and peak performance. So obviously, what's it going to give you? It's going to give you increased attention, concentration, and focus, increased organization and productivity, increased goal-directed behavior. It's going to increase your ability to tolerate frustration and to bounce back when things and challenges happen. It's going to give you much better clarity, faster ability to make decisions, greater sense of ease, enjoyment, flow, more confidence, and really much, much greater capacity for you to be able to handle all of the things that are coming in through to you without having a system overload and a crash. So how the program is delivered is, again, there's these two pieces. The first part of it is a working memory training program. And this is, like I said, is a highly research-based and structured program. It is a super intensive program where we see results, people get results within 6 weeks. And this is the length of our program. It is adaptive, and what that means is that it is going to be training you at your capacity. So it is a little bit like a video game. And as opposed to video games in which you can beat the game, so to speak, you know, if you've ever played a video game and you get into the challenge and eventually you can beat the game, this is a program that adjusts and adapts to your capacity. And so as your capacity increases, it challenges you more. And so it's like literally stretching your ability to be able to deal with things as you continue to do the training. It is very targeted, but it's also super convenient and very, very flexible. So the first part of this is that we need to do an evaluation to identify if you would be a good fit for the program. We also have, and I'll talk a little bit about fit in a minute. We have a session where we, structure your training and we plan what it is that it's going to be, what your goals are going to be. And then you have 6 weeks of this computer-based training where you're going to be training every single day. Well, not every single day, 4 days a week for 6 weeks. So you can train in the morning, you can train in the evening, you can do 2 days and then 2 days. You can split it however you want. But the idea is that you're training 4 days a week for 6 weeks straight. And then you get to have a coaching call where you get to check in with a coach and see how you're doing and learn some new strategies and kind of deal with some of the challenges that are coming up. You will have access to the entire training web portal, and then we'll have a session where we're going to wrap up and figure out, here's where you were, here's how you've improved. We're going to give you a summary and feedback. And one of the things that I really, really loved about this program is that they believed so much in their program that they included a 6-month follow-up as part of their protocol, meaning that whatever you do, this is a permanent reboot. This is a permanent upgrade. It's not something that you're going to do and it's going to work while you do it and then stop, but it's intended to really completely rewire your brain in a permanent way. And it also gives you access to another 100 training sessions to use for the whole entire year thereafter. There's people that like it so much that want to kind of keep training, and that is available and part of it. The second part of it, the installation of the software, so to speak, it's really where we start actually teaching you some of the highest level techniques and strategies that I have developed through my entire career, through my 17 years of schooling and the 16 years I've had working with high level athletes and entrepreneurs and speakers, on how you can really do this in a holistic manner so that you are at the highest performance level that you can. We will dive into all of the pieces about intensity and spiritual energy, emotional quality, learning how you can completely manage and regulate your responses, your emotional state, so that you are always being however you want to be. People always think that I'm in a good mood, and they always think that I'm really super positive, and that's awesome. And partly is because most of the time I am, because I'm able to regulate them. But life also happens to me, like I'm not immune. Like all kinds of things happen. And it's really about our ability to be able to bounce back. So an example of this was we had a horrible thing where our plumbing got overflowed, and I had to spend literally like, I don't know, like 8 hours, like literally cleaning up shit. So that, needless to say, it was like not a pleasant thing. And I was tired and I was hungry. And about like 15 minutes or 15 minutes before we were supposed to start our group, the group facilitator called me and said that she wasn't going to be able to make it. So I had this moment of like, oh shit, right? And then I knew that I really quickly had to shift my energy, and I really quickly had to get in a place where I could show up and facilitate that group and make it a powerful group. And I did, and it went great. So that is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, and being able to really have full control of that emotional energy. Of course, we go through focus and all of the different techniques and strategies that now you can implement now that your working memory capacity has been extended, creating how to create the outcomes and results that you desire in your life. And this is really, I love this because this is kind of where the spiritual and the science combines. I think it's sort of the integration for me of, in some ways, the law of attraction and the peak performance, and how we get into flow, and how do we really create whatever it is that we want in our life. Then module 6 is really establishing all of the systems, the rituals, and the habits, both in our life and in our business, all of the plans and procedures and all of that kind of stuff. And then the last module is basically the evaluation and the integration into a positive spiral of success. And what I'm going to say about this is that a lot of how we feel has to do with how we evaluate what's happening. It's the stories that we make. And so this is really about learning what is the best way for you to evaluate, so that you continually are growing and challenging yourself and getting to that next level and that next level, rather than getting into a negative spiral. And then, of course, this will have group coaching calls where you get a chance to get your specific questions answered, how we apply this to yourself, and then access to a private community where you get support, your questions answered, and you'll learn from one another. So what's unique about this is that nobody else is doing anything like this, and partly because given that I own an integrative wellness center, the first program is only available to people that are actually licensed psychologists. So no other coach has access to something like that. And so I was able to tap into the resource of our center and integrate it with all of the knowledge and experience to be able to create this program that is providing incredible results for people. It will train you at your capacity. And again, the results about rewiring your brain and increasing neuroplasticity are permanent. They're not a one-time thing. All of the techniques and strategies that you are going to be learning are the very same ones that we are teaching, that my colleagues and I have taught to Olympic athletes, to high-level performers, to speakers, to top CEOs. You will get access to that information. And they will be delivered in innovative ways. I like to have fun. I like to make things interactive. And so what's really unique about this is that it's a little bit of a hybrid program. The first part of the program is a lot of an individualized program. There's a lot of one-on-one stuff because we need to make sure that you are going to be the right candidate. And then we're going to integrate it with the group delivery for the second part of the program. So I wanted to show you just really, really briefly sort of some of the results of a study. And they wanted to do it with people that were really, really extreme. So they took people that had ADHD, and then they compared them off their meds, on their meds, which is the red, off, on, and then the green bar is how they were immediately after the training, and then the yellow bar was at the follow-up. So you could see that even when they were taking the medication and the medication did increase their focus and attention, and you can kind of see this is probably where most of us are, that after the training there was a huge increase in visual spatial memory, verbal memory, and there is a little bit of a drop after, partly because we're not going to be training at that level subsequently. But then you could see that even though the drop was very small, and in some cases there was a continued increase, and then that was way, way different from where they first started. And so I love showing this because it's not just about like, don't just take my word. Don't just take my word. Some of our clients, have gone from like having lost a job, being kicked out of roommates, or having relationship issues, and like on the brink of losing their businesses, to like all of a sudden they turn all this around, establish new systems, and like all of a sudden start turning a profit. I had a client that literally like was like on the red, on the brink of bankruptcy, and he did all of these things and then turned his business around within 3 months, and he was already on the black and moving on a really quick trend, and was turning a much, much bigger profit that he wouldn't have ever done. So our individual clients usually pay $15,000 to access this information. Obviously, that's not what you're going to pay, and partly because this is going to be the first time that we're going to deliver all of this information in a group setting. So, but I just want you to have a sense of how much it is that our individual clients are actually paying for and investing for, to be able to get access to all this stuff. And of course, if you want to do it individually, you can send an email to me at elena@intuitivebusinessmastery.com, and we can talk about it. I am pretty fun and great to work with. Now, what we are expecting that these programs will be is that the first part of the program will be $29.97, and the second part of the program will be $19.97. It's also not what you're going to pay today, partly because, again, it's going to be the first time that we're going to be delivering it in a group setting, and so I want to give a special opportunity to people that are willing to trust us in delivering all of these amazing results that we have seen with our one-on-one clients, and know that we can deliver it in a group. And so you're not going to pay either of those things. So before I actually tell you how much, I also want to tell you that we're going to be including some pretty awesome bonuses. The first one is that I'm going to include some guided meditations that are going to continue to help you train your brain and continue to expand that working memory capacity. And also attuning you, there's all of these things that I have. There's a lot of things and patterns and beliefs that I notice that also get people stuck. And so some of the meditations and visualizations are meant to help to release some of those thought patterns that are keeping people stuck. So for instance, I do one on abundance and receiving money and things like that. The second bonus is that you will get access to this really, really awesome live workshop where it's going to be 4 hours where we're going to get together and we're going to literally roll our sleeves and distill what's the biggest dream that you want to manifest, and then what are the specific steps that you need to take to make it happen. We will go through this multi-six-figure blueprint and how it applies to you. And I am going to be doing this with also this incredibly amazing healer. Her name is Diana Bertoldo, and she is going to basically help help you basically clear out any kind of negative belief or things that are getting in the way of you to really manifesting the success that you want in your life. The third bonus that we're going to include is our time mastery program. And while we're going to be learning a whole bunch of techniques about how to improve your focus and productivity, time being one of them, but time ends up being a really, really big and separate thing. And so we decided that we want to make sure that you are being successful, and we wanted to really give you the opportunity for you to learn all of the strategies for you to manage your time the most effectively, how to use your calendar the most appropriately, and then how to incorporate all of the new techniques and strategies into routines and systems that actually work for you in your life. We're also going to be including, and this might sound weird, but it is all part of making sure that you are functioning at your highest. We're going to be including a brain boosting meal plan with all of the delicious recipes. And my partner is integrative health and nutrition coach, and he is basically, all of his research and what he does is really helping people perform at the highest levels through nutrition and exercise. And I always tell him that he has like gourmet cooking the lazy way, because he's doing these amazing meals, but he's not like slaving over a hot stove. And so we are going to be giving you some of those things, partly because we want to make sure that you are, again, fueling your body in the most nutritious way that's going to boost your brain capacity. And we also don't want you to be spending like hours and hours and hours cooking. So the last thing that I'm going to include, and this is really only for the first 20 people that choose to register for our program, is our Authentic Confidence program. This is a program that sells all on its own for $19.97. And it's really what I call the supplementary program that allows you to really tap into your inner superhero to unleash your gifts. It's another high performance program that really taps into how do you become incredibly confident. How do you develop that daring courage to take the risks and take the steps and share your voice and take things to that next level. Usually every time that we're about to expand into that next level of functioning or doing something that seems really amazing, all kinds of fears are going to come up. This is pretty normal. It's part of our ego trying to keep us safe. And so this program is really the program that it's meant to like help you conquer all of those mindset blocks and beliefs that are keeping you and holding you back, so that you can really totally unleash your potential. And so for the first 20 people actually register, we will include that with you. So, and I did not say this, but so I'm also going to give you a ticket to my live retreat that I call Illuminate, where we actually do all of this stuff in person, like where we really talk about like how do we illuminate the world with our being? How do we not only become high performers, but then how do we translate this into either a business, a message, a movement that we are meant to do here in the world? And that is a 2-day live event at this moment, and it's a small event. So I will be given a ticket to that. So the total value of the program is $10,679. So of course, if you want to enroll, you can go to this and enroll. However, one of the things that, so the whole investment for you will be $24.97. So you will get all of those things, the meditations, the access to the meals, the time mastery program, the tickets to the live event, and the training, the Quantum Boost Reboot, all of it for $24.97. And you can go there and enroll. However, today you can actually get started for only $3.97 by accessing this website, Tiny URL, QBRSS. What this is it's a deposit for the initial assessment, partly because this program is actually not going to be for everybody. Okay, so of course, I know that every time something's presenting like this, the money conversation comes up for each of us, and we're like, oh my gosh, can we do this? This is the most affordable that this program has been. And again, it's partly because we're adding a group component delivery. I don't know that we will be able to offer it at this price point or to be able to include as many bonuses because we are frankly losing money, but we really want to be able to offer it in a group setting, and we want to be able to have people that go through it as a group that can help us, give us feedback and give us testimonials as to like how their experience was. We do have an installment option if you know that this is something you'd like to do. It's a 6-month installment option. And again, today, all that you would need is the $397 for you to get access to that first assessment. So this is for you, obviously, if you're motivated and committed to diligently doing the trainings, especially the trainings for all 6 weeks. We are not somebody that, or any other program where you're like, oh yeah, we'll take your money. It's okay if you finish or not. We are actually evaluated on how well we're able to establish the protocol for this program. And so we want to make sure that people that sign up and work with us are committed to doing the training and finishing it. And so we are really, really committed because our compliance as a practice depends on people actually finishing. So we're kind of both on the hook, so to speak, okay? It's for you if you are ready to upgrade and optimize your brain and doing what it takes to get there. If you really are finally tired of being stuck in the overwhelm and the overwork, and you really want to find that ease and the flow, and you really want to really unlock that unlimited potential to become more productive, more influential, and more profitable in what you do. It is not for you if you cannot commit to finishing all 6 weeks of training. Again, this is super, super important for us. And we, we don't want to simply sell a program. We actually want people to get a transformation. It's not for you if you're stuck in a victim story and making excuses about why you can or cannot do it. Obviously, if you're not willing to put in the effort to upgrade and to optimize your brain, or if you don't want to be among the first few people that actually really fully learns how to unlock this hidden potential. At this moment, I think people that are willing to do this will have a greater advantage over anybody else. I think that eventually everybody will need to be able to do something like this to be able to function at the highest level in our world. But people that do it now will be able to do it and have that extra edge and an extra advantage. And then it is especially not for you if you have vertigo, epilepsy, really severe depression, and what I mean by that is depression that has some of the psychotic features, and schizophrenia. And now, like, you might be like, whoa, where's that coming from? I need to put that in partly because the first part of this quantum brain reboot program, it's a computer-based program that involves flashing lights. And so for certain people, some of those flashing lights can trigger some of these things. And so people that generally have some of these conditions might be a contraindication. And so we want to make sure that if you already know then that program will probably not be for you. However, if you're interested in doing maybe just the second part of the program, we can certainly have a conversation about what the pricing would be for just doing the second part of the program. So the guarantee is, I am actually very suspicious of people that give 100% guarantees, because I don't think that anything is guaranteed in life. And so when people give 100% guarantees, I get really suspicious. I can tell you that 8 out of 10 people experience moderate to severe improvements in how they are functioning, and they see in their life changes dramatically. This is what we have seen in the research. Actually, people that have gone through in our, that have worked with us particularly, I think that I've only had one person that said like, meh, it was okay. So again, I want to, just be completely honest and transparent, because I cannot, say this is going to absolutely work for you 100%. again, because our brains are all different in some way. Now, what we're going to do is that if you really are actually interested in this, is that you will go to TinyURL and you will, what you're going to pay for is a $397 for that initial assessment. Obviously, we want people that are serious about it and are committed, and we will sit together one-on-one, and we're going to do a very deep assessment. We're going to ask you to complete some questionnaires prior to us even meeting, and then we're going to decide if you are actually a good fit for the program. If we deem that you're not a good fit for the program, we will simply refund you the money. We will eat up I will eat up the assessment and whatever I need to pay our clinicians and that kind of thing. But if obviously you're a good fit for the program, then we will just simply use that as a deposit, and then we can just discuss how you want to pay for the rest. You could do payments, or you could just do pay what's left over. So if you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. Feel free to drop them on the thing. I'm gonna drop the link to the gift that I am giving you, which is the multi-six-figure revenue blueprint, and I am actually gonna be dropping it on the chat here so that you can see it. So feel free to grab it from the chat, copy it, and then you can just copy it and paste it. It's not even an opt-in, it's a direct download for you to access. So if you are here, go ahead and pick it up and take it from the chat, and then you can totally access it from there. There's obviously, if you have other questions, I would love to hear them. It is really a really great chance to really reboot your brain so that you can become the powerful and focused and transformational leader that you are here to be. It will allow you to create and execute anything and everything that you are wanting to do in your life. And it's going to make such a great difference for you to be able to learn to work with the ease and the flow and the efficiency. And, one of the things that I wonder is like, what's, of course, I don't know exactly what the ROI is going to be for you, but I can tell you what might be the cost of inaction, which is, you're like, what's the price that you're willing to pay for not doing an upgrade, right? Like we upgrade our phones all the time, and in some ways, it's like the easiest and best thing that we can do is to really upgrade our brain so that we are functioning at our highest and that we are able to get the results and achieve all the things that we want to do. And so, of course, what happens when you don't, then you just kind of stay stuck in the same. So why I think it's really, really important is because I believe that the only people who change the world are the ones that are crazy enough to think they can. And it is so important that as we are moving into this new evolving world, that we are willing to take care of ourselves, or we are willing to invest in us and grow ourselves. Brian Wetton says something that I really love that says the taller the tree, the deeper the roots, which I really love because it just illustrates how much we need to grow and how much we need to expand to be able to become who we need to be. So if you have any more questions, you can also send them to me at elena@intuitivebusinessmastery.com. And it's just up to you to decide. If you're really interested, please go to tinyurl.com/QBR-assess, and that will just ask you for your deposit, and then you will immediately receive an email with a link for you to be able to schedule that initial assessment, and we can kind of get started. So if I don't see any other questions, I will probably just end. But again, I welcome your questions via email if you would like. And if you know and you feel like this is something that you need, I think that it's absolutely worth investing in the time and energy for you to do this first assessment, and for us to determine if you're going to be a good fit, and it can totally change your life. So I will trying to see if I can stop the screen. No. Okay. Well, I guess it's been such a pleasure to be here with you. I really appreciate your time, your energy, your attention. Again, feel free to send me an email if you have additional questions. And until then, defy the ordinary, become extraordinary. Dr. Elena Estanol with Luminescent Light. Have a great day.